Let's take a look at some information and charts on Polkadot for Brave New Coin. Very Pinterest-esque logo here. I can't lose it. I just can't shake it. I'm always hesitant to talk about new projects because I don't want to give new folks coming into crypto the wrong impression in that people are talking about it. It's bullish, right? I've had more people ask me about DOT who aren't even in crypto than I can count, really, which is kind of crazy. It entered the market with a flourish. It was top 5 or something at one point on the market cap tables. Everybody was looking at it. It was listed a bunch of places on their website. You know, they're better than everybody else. They slice, they dice, etc., etc. Big issue is here, this stuff needs years to figure out what it's going to be when it grows up. Because right now it's just too early to know what the fundamentals are valued at. You know, we can say that DOT's worth XYZ, it's better than everything else. We've had chains like that. They're called EOS, and we know where EOS is at today. Anything that got listed in December or around December 2020 benefited greatly from January to May explosion in everything. Meme stocks, you know, everybody was trying to trade everything. So the bottom line really for me is it's just too early. We can talk about it, we can look at it, you know, we can pretend we have something to say about it. You can watch this if you want to learn about the roadmap, much like ADA. I mean, it's just like lines and lines of stuff, right? To me, it's not really too meaningful until we see users on-chain data, DeFi apps, ICOs, stuff that moves the needle. We can talk about their novel consensus with a weird name. We can talk about comparisons to ETH 2.0. Is this a competitor? Is it ETH 2.0, 2.0? You know, I don't know. It's just too early. We don't even have ETH 2.0 yet. But there are many coins, should ETH fail, ETH 2.0 fail, where Avalanche, Solana, Polkadot, all these chains are going to be waiting in the wings as the understudy to take over should ETH stumble. I don't necessarily think ETH will. And if ETH stumbles, all these other chains will stumble equally. But that's just something to keep in mind. And you can read about parathreads and sharding and all this other stuff in the differences here. But you know, this is a new chain. We don't really know. What I really care about is what are the problems? They've had issues, or one issue here, May 24th. What are the problems? What are the attacks? Those are the important things to me. What is the coins in circulation? How much do the Polkadot people own? The Parity people own? Those sort of things are way more important to me than roadmaps. So they are multi-chain, or attempting to be multi-chain, but we'll see, right? These things take time. If we look at the ICO information specifically, this is from Asari, but it did an ICO in 2017, they had a SAFT in 2019, and then a private sale in 2020, and they have 1 billion tokens. And you'd have to dig a little deeper as far as who owns what and how much is stuck in the multisig wallet. So in 2017, they had an issue with the Parity multisig wallet where their funds were held, and they still sit there today. 306,000 ETH, or $708 million notionally. Now, for me, I think ETH should roll back all issues here, personally. They have a history of this with ETH DAO back in the day. Now, Polkadot tried, or Parity tried, whoever, all these are the same people, tried to weasel their way into some sort of EIP to roll back this stuff. But I think any of these funds lost should just be rolled back. I mean, that's what ETH does, right? There was that news headline the other day about 75 million in ETH 2.0 keys being lost forever, right? Just roll it back. You know, they have a history of this. Is it going to make people upset? Probably, but this is kind of what ETH does. It's funny that it's kind of stuck here. Now, the EIP was voted down, so it's not like no one has a say in this stuff. But this is bullish if it's if it remains locked or lost, as does any coin. Burned, locked, lost. This isn't necessarily enough of the total supply to move the needle, but this would represent selling pressure and is one of the largest ICO treasuries remaining because it can't be sold. So that's always important to keep in mind if you ever see that headline where this gets unlocked in some way. Just interesting to think about what that represents for ETH price-wise. If you look at transaction counts for DOT, it looks like they had, I'm guessing, a stress test here or something that moved them up to 3.8 million. I'm just going to ignore that. It's really irrelevant to the data, the on-chain data, and really makes me angry when I see that for things like Dash. They love to do these stress tests. whatever. It just ruins the data forever, so that makes me upset. But overall, transactions haven't really gone anywhere since initial listings, since August. Basically just flatlining here. Average transaction values declining along with price, so nothing too specific to analyze there. But it's certainly not bullish to see transactions flatlining with prices where they are. Active addresses, however, have been increasing. There's a proof of stake component on DOT, so that's going to affect active addresses. NVT, though, is rising and has been rising since January. So that says on-chain activity relative to market cap continues to decline despite falling market cap. So that's a bit of an issue for anyone who's bullish as well. NVT not showing bullishness here. Active address is down from the highs a few days ago. But overall, this is a bullish active address picture, especially for even a proof of stake coin. You just wish that transaction counts were growing at a greater pace. But again, it's super early days for DOT. And I hesitate to even do a video on it because I don't really have too much to say on the fundamentals. But if we look at the staking rewards to delegate, it's 4.5% after inflation. To run a validator, it's 5% after inflation. So sort of comparable with DeFi stuff, and anything that's proof of stake needs to be comparable with DeFi stuff. Otherwise, it just won't hold over time. People are, in general, rational, and unless you're a Dash community member, you're not going to spin up a masternode when you're exposed to volatility risk with a reward that's less than just USDC yield on Aave, for example. If we look at Google Trends for Polkadot price, kind of the only thing that makes sense to look for worldwide, past 12 months, exploded late 2020 into February, and along with price has sort of declined week over week. So the euphoria, initial mania for DOT looks like it's certainly waned considerably. And that's always something to be careful of when it's a new coin that gets a new listing in a bull market. Everybody's just going to be way too excited for the wrong reasons about price relative to what the chain is actually doing or has done. Switching gears to technicals on Kraken.USD, they have probably the best data for this because they're not using fake volume or anything for the most part. Kraken's one of the exchanges you can trust in that regard. But the 15 to 200 cross bearish a few days ago, we do have a bull div that is kind of yet to play out and hasn't really followed the rest of the DeFi stuff. It certainly followed the DeFi narrative on the way up and mirrored this inverted head and shoulders in November and December along with everything DeFi. But so far, it's certainly underperformed the mean reversions in DeFi, if it's even considered DeFi in the trading psyche. It certainly was probably on the centralized exchanges in the DeFi ecosystem in ETH, probably not so much. And its January breakout is sub 5 and it's at 16. So for me, this is just a leave alone until all of this has retraced back to its breakout level. Anybody in those ICOs who don't have vested or locked coins would probably be selling and be happy to sell at some silly multiple versus a retail investor who got in even in January. The VC people are in mega profit on listing and are even happier to sell anything they can at these prices. So that's always important to keep in mind with ICO tokens and anything that has a continuous unlock schedule or emission rate. So I like 10, I like 5, kind of that simple. Trends metrics certainly aren't on your side, and it did have a head and shoulders at the top here before the breakdown. So it's not like you didn't get any warning that this topped at 40 or whatever crazy value it hit a few months after listing. The cloud also told you to get out at around 34 if you got back in. So there's plenty of reasons not to be in DOT right now based on TA and trend metrics. This is putting in a TK disequilibrium, C-clamp, bull div, whatever you want to call it, to 30. So it would be a 2x, kind of everything in crypto is painting that. And if BTC and ETH pull off their mean reversions, BTC to 44, ETH to 3K, then it's not unlikely that DOT, when everything else pulls up as well, right? DOT's not going to move on its own, but it's probably going to be correlated with the rest of the majors in the near term, unless that unlock vesting schedule just takes over which it probably won't because this has a lot of centralized exchange listings. So that's something to watch for. On .BTC, it had this horizontal support that it broke recently. Trend metrics bearish. And unless it has continuous hype or PR around it, I don't expect DOT to outperform BTC in the near term. It does have a bull div on it as well. But the initial euphoria of that January altcoin bonanza has certainly waned pretty significantly. Maybe you can say there's an Adam and Eve here. I don't know, on lower time frames. I can't imagine too many people are trading this on low time frames. And .ETH is at an all-time low. It probably continues to push all-time lows until DOT fundamentally has more going for it than just speculation as either an ETH competitor or ETH killer or adjacent to ETH, or I don't know, post ETH 2.0, which is probably 2 years away. Maybe DOT does something relative to ETH, but it's just too early, way too early for any ETH competitors to take a giant slice of that pie until they have DeFi, swaps, lending, borrowing, stable coins. You know, they need everything that ETH has, right? And to win that narrative. And it just isn't there yet. You could say this is a bull div. You could say this is a falling wedge. Just for me, fundamentally, there's just no way that this is a buy over ETH. And any uptick here is purely speculative and based on TA, not based on some DOT roadmap, right? And I'm not even an ETH fan. That's just the way I think the market is reading this. So too early to really tell for me. You know, maybe some DOT community member in the comments will let me know how wrong I am and that DOT's going to 2000. But I just don't see it. It's just too early. Lastly, I'll just mention ETH-BTC fund. I trade for Techemy Capital on Enzyme.finance along with the DeFi portfolio non-custodial portfolio management tool where you can see everything, including AUM, allocation, performance, trades, deposits, withdrawals. You can see all the stuff I'm doing through Aave, Comp, Paraswap, ZRX, Yearn. One thing that they're eventually going to be adding is Telegram support or some sort of messaging where I can give direct thoughts about what I'm doing or what I have done, give comments on issues I'm having, things like that. So people know, you know, why am I not buying more here? Well, because slippage was pretty terrible at the time. Or why am I mostly in Aave USDC? Or why am I moving into different yield plays, that sort of thing. They did just add Yearn protocol, and some of these yields are looking more attractive. For instance, this A3 curve pool looks more attractive than Aave interest-bearing USDC. So I may move a considerable amount of USDT in that direction. So anyway, that's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.